Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have a memory planner process for you. I am working on the week of February 7th through the 13th, and today I'm going to do a little bit of stash busting. So I have a few leftover ephemera pieces. They are like odds and ends from who knows where, and I'm going to try to incorporate as many of these as I can into my spread this week. Everything else will be pretty simple, but that's one of the things I love about memory planning is you can use anything and everything, and it is a great way to kind of bust through some of the odds and ends that might be in your stash. So I will link things that I use down below. I always get questions about how I print my photos. The app that I use is linked below as well, so you can be sure to check that out. Otherwise, I'll put you guys on fast forward. Let's go. As I am taking my paper out of the planner so I can work with it more easily, I'm thinking it's time for me to divide up this memory planner into a couple different planners. I usually like to keep about 6 months at a time. I'm working on my now 8th month in this particular planner, and it's getting chunky. It's getting pretty chunky. So I'll probably look at taking out the first 6 months of this planner and putting it in its own planner for keepsake purposes, and then just keeping my current memory planner a little slimmer. I like to do that a year in a planner, in a memory planner, because of all the paper and stickers and ephemera that I add. Just ends up being too much, and I don't think that it's really going to hold up over time. I think the pages, because of the weight, might start falling out if you add a ton on those rings. So that's just my opinion. Let me know if you memory plan. Do you keep a whole year together? Do you divide it up? Let me know how you like to store your different planners. All right, you can see I matted all my pictures just on black cardstock, keeping it nice and simple because I do have a lot of colorful paper pieces that I want to include. And I'm trying to keep the paper or the pictures mostly where they occurred, like on the day they occurred. And now I'm just going to go ahead and secure them all down with adhesive so that I can start kind of doing the fun part, which is playing with all of the different paper pieces. So I do like to keep them as much as possible on the actual days. I don't necessarily stay in the boxes, and because I have a tendency to have a lot more pictures on the weekends, some of those pictures end up earlier in the week, and usually I just make note of it. It's not a big deal. They're still on the weeks that they actually occurred, but it's, it just changes up the spacing ever so slightly. So I found this washi tape in my stash. It is black with silver stars, and I thought it would be fun to just really emphasize the big boxes in this spread. So I'm coming with, it's a skinny washi, but it looks like this big bold black line, and it kind of melds with the black that I use to mat the pictures. And so I really like the emphasis that it brings, the boldness that it brings to the spread. And I'm just using it to make a large rectangle around each side of the week. Again, emphasizing those vertical boxes that I have going on. I usually ignore the vertical boxes as far as the lines going through and don't really worry about it too much. Every now and then I'll do a spread that really focuses on those boxes, but I like just using it as a reference and not as lines that that I have to stay within. I like to color outside the lines, you might say. All right, once those get down, then I will start looking at the paper pieces that I have chosen. Again, these were just in my drawer, in my stash, ones that I hadn't used. What I'm going to grab for first are words. I love using paper piece words. I feel like it tells part of the story without me having to journal part of the story. So for instance, that one that says family, I'm putting it next to a picture of my daughter and her best friend who happens to be a neighbor of ours. And they're like family. It's like sisters right there. And so I feel like that tells part of the story without me having to write that part of the story. And me in my craft room and me at a Winter Guard show that weekend also tells part of the story. When I'm able to add the words happy place, it really gets that impression of these activities that I really love. There's a picture of my husband. We went on an early Valentine's date on this week. So I have him from the date and a little phrase that says, "You mean so much to me." There's just so many things that you can say with those words that I really, really like. So in this ephemera set, there were a bunch of different leaves. It kind of had a fall feel, and I was going to kind of sporadically put them around the page, but then I decided, you know, what would be really cool is to have them creating like a border, because I chose to do this big thick black line with the washi. I'm going to be cutting the paper pieces in half. You get twice as much out of them that way, and I'm lining them all along the side and the bottom of the spread. I love how this came out. I want to do it again. Like, I will be doing this again for sure. Just because what happens is I end up with still so much room for journaling, but I'm able to set the tone for the page, bring in lots of color, and it's not getting in the way of the pictures. So it's something that worked really well, and it just gives you so much ability to use those paper pieces to their full advantage, because I feel like I'm ending up with twice the amount of paper pieces on my page because I'm cutting them in half. So I'll get those all cut in half, put down, and then I will trim that little section out because a few of them hung off the bottom. Now I have a few pieces. I didn't have to add any more in the middle of the spread. The only reason I'm adding more is because I have them. And like I said, I'm trying to bust through this particular set of ephemera. So I'm just going to put things that make sense. After I was done with the spread, I was only left with maybe 3 or 4 pieces from this collection. I think this is a hip kit collection. That's my guess. It's been in my drawer, so I'm not totally sure. But I was only left with just a few. I do like to put paper pieces at corners where photos meet because I think it softens the look a little bit. So you'll see me placing them there. And otherwise, I really busted through. Like, this worked super well for kind of getting through an ephemera set that I had been using for a while and was ready to kind of move on from. So excited to get to use that. The last little step that I will do for this page is adding the journaling lines, and I use my T ruler to add in journaling lines, and then I will take it off camera and add in all of the journaling, and then this spread will be done. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. Like I said earlier, I will link all of the supplies that I used down below, so you can be sure to check out the description box for more details. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon members. We are having a fabulous time over on Patreon. If you want to find out more about some of the perks that you can receive as a Patreon member, then make sure to click the link in the description box below. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.